Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Let's Get Together, a social club for seniors. And this program, it is being recorded for future viewing on our YouTube and other media channels. But I do have to mention that this program, it is made possible in part through funding from AeroCares by Lockheed Martin employees and also Hesta Stewart Christian Trust. And I am Heather, your host for today's program. But the real stars of the show are the group from Fort Worth Opera here today to lead the program. So before you exit the program, if you are watching this on YouTube, I really would love for you to like the video and subscribe to the channel to stay current on all of our future postings, so you can see all of these beautiful faces from Fort Worth Opera going forward. So I'm going to pass it over to all of you. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you so very much. Hi, Heather, thank you for having us. My name is Sharan Goodspeed Keaton, and I am the Director of COT Production and Civic Impact for Fort Worth Opera, and we are very excited to be here today. I have today with me on staff, Nikki Washington. She will be checking the chat and answering any questions you might have there in the chat. I have my partner in crime and co-host, Meredith Browning. So she'll be hosting a part of this event today. I have my colleague Jacob on the ones and twos. He'll be the one playing the videos for us and making sure that all things technical is working out okay. And my final two guests, it's really hard for me to call them guests because one is a very dear friend to Fort Worth Opera, Mr. Nathan Granner, and he is our guest artist today. So you'll get to hear him not once, but twice today. So awesome, awesome, awesome. And another person who's absolutely not a guest, but today he's our guest staff member, Mr. Justin Miller. He's our director of production, and he produced and made all the magic happen for La Traviata. The Traviata was our closing main stage performance at Bass Hall this year for our 75th season. And the two pieces that you're going to see are both from La Traviata. So without further ado, we're going to play the first video. I hope you all enjoy, and make sure your screens are on mute. Thank you.
I cannot get over how well your two voices blend. That's awesome.
That was so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that with us, Nathan. It's so good to see you again. I would like to hear your, well, first of all, let me introduce again Nathan Granner, who was our Alfredo in La Traviata. If you could tell us a little bit about setting up that scene and about your experience with Fort Worth Opera in this production.
Sure, thank you, Meredith. Hi, everyone. I miss Fort Worth so much. Listen, La Traviata at Fort Worth Opera, it was my first time that I've sung the role of Alfredo. I've been in this career for quite some time now, and this Alfredo is something normally that you take on as a youngster, and you know, you kind of sing yourself blue with it over the course of your career. So this was really interesting for me to approach this as an established artist and look at it not as a 20 something, but as an any something, and you know, a more mature person falling in love really for the first time, and singing with Elaine Alvarez and being in this production, like John De Los Santos and everybody at Fort Worth with Afton Battle and Joe Illick conducting was a real honor and a special privilege and a pleasure to do it. And not only that, but it was so fun to do. This piece, this duet, happens in the beginning of the opera. Alfredo has been watching over Violetta. He's fallen in love with her. She being a courtesan, he being a country gentleman, and he's fallen in love with her. And she's been sick for quite some time, and this is kind of her coming out party of being healthy and viable in the society in Paris again. But you know, he finally kind of approaches her at this party, and he's like, you know, you need to slow down. You need to slow down a little bit, and you know, you can't do all these things if you want to live a full and healthy life. Let me take care of you. So this kind of arietta arioso in the beginning that goes into the duet is explaining to Violetta that he's fallen in love with her, and explaining to her the benefits of hanging out with him. There's something mysterious about their love. There's something eternal and universal about what they have and what they could have together. And one of the phrases that's repeated in this particular piece is croce e delizia, which means cross and delight. And cross and delight means what happens in a relationship, you know, the burdens that you bear, the fights, you know, the bad times sometimes, but the delight of it all. You got to take all of that when you're with somebody. And Alfredo is the guy who's earnestly telling the truth. He's not just saying everything's going to be great, but it's going to be amazing in the end. And indeed, and you see at the very end of the opera, although tragically Violetta dies, you know, they do have this connection together. And again, you know, Elaine and I had a very special relationship doing this show. She's just such an amazing person and a force to be reckoned with as a soprano. I'm just so honored to have been able to work with her.
Did you know her before?
Not at all.
Not at all. So tell us what that was like, getting to know her and work with her.
From day one. Now, Elaine on the opposite side has sung La Traviata. I think she said that she'd been in 23 productions. So that's a lot of tenors to sing with. But from the get-go, she was super warm, so very welcoming to me as my first time in this role. So that was really helpful for me, because when you sing something like this, and especially with a major role like this, in what we call in the opera industry the canon. It's a canon piece. It's one of those 10 top pieces, and everyone knows it. If they know opera, if they've been to the opera a number of times, invariably they'll have seen La Traviata. And Elaine was just a delight to work with. And we were able to kind of lose ourselves in the role at one point. And you see it in this very poignant scene. She still wants to party. You hear her tempo. Alfredo is just singing these luscious lines, and Violetta comes in and she's like, no, no way. I'm gonna live my life and everything's gonna be fun. And so it was great to be able to bounce my ideas off of her, and she would give some kind of feedback whether it would work with her character or not. But there was never a moment of disparity, and we were always on the same page. And I just found that to be so amazing. It happens a lot, when we work together in opera and in theater. We form a family. The cast becomes fast
Absolutely.
friends, and
Absolutely.
yeah,
Absolutely.
we live our lives together like
At
that.
least in a perfect world, assuming everyone is gracious, and it sounds like
Right.
that was the case.
One other quick question, because we got to jump over to the second video.
Yes.
What we saw on camera just now, first of all, I want anybody, even if you're just in the room with other people, to raise your hand if you've ever seen a production of Traviata. I'll raise mine because obviously I have. But if you are out there in YouTube land, or if you are on the call with us right now, if you've ever seen a production of Traviata, and if you remember this song, or what this song was about, or if you remember how this song affected you the first time you ever heard it. So although everybody can't weigh in right now, think back to the first time you heard this song. Think back to what it felt like, I want to say whose side you took, or where you were in the process when you watched this. So hang on to that memory. I'm going to get Nathan to answer one other quick question about the clip that we just saw. So that everyone can kind of travel back to that video with us. Talk to us about the set and where you were on stage, what we were looking at. Tell us about that.
Oh, that's so awesome. Listen, this set and the setting for La Traviata, which is normally set in the mid 1800s, the mid 19th century. It's usually we're all in tuxedos and, very formal party wear, but this was such a blast. It was set in 1989, right at the height of fashion in Paris. Jean-Paul Gaultier, Claudia Obad. I'm wearing an Armani suit. It was just so fun to be able to kind of update this show into a kind of modern sensibility, whereas Alfredo would be normally more, upright, and it just, I have these love stories. It was more like, yo, what's up? I love you. And, and doing these hand gestures that are indicative more of a modern culture rather than, So we had a lot of fun with not only the set, which is Liliana Duque Pinheiro, but the costumes by Ashley Solomon really were all a character in this opera. A lot of times you'll just have characters be, their own characters, and that's it. But really, Fort Worth brought some more things extra to this particular production to give it more slam. And
I could see that with her dress too. I was thinking that dress has a personality all its own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as we move into the second video, everyone kind of take notice of that. Take notice of the costumes, take notice of the set pieces, take notice of the lighting, because Justin Miller is going to be jumping on right after, and he very well might quiz you on some of that. So we'll see how much of that you can remember from the video. So Jacob, go ahead with video 2 whenever you're ready.
I got my coffee ready. I'm ready for your quiz. So cool.
Bravo, Nathan. Another triumph. Thank you. Before we get to Justin, I wanted to just try to jog your memories, whoever's watching. If you have not ever seen a production of La Traviata, I bet you have all seen a movie called Pretty Woman, where she goes to the opera. Julia Roberts goes to the opera with Richard Gere. If you can think back to that and try to remember that scene, they're watching an opera, and it's all clips from La Traviata that they're watching. And she's so moved by that. And but try to remember, if you can think about that scene, they're all, as Nathan said, they're dressed in 19th century formal garb. We'll compare that to what we just saw. Nathan wearing his shorts and kicking back with his sunglasses on, and it's a very different kind of take on this show and this production. So with that, I want to introduce you again to our director of production, Justin Miller. Thank you for joining us, Justin.
Hello, thank you for having me today.
Hi, so tell us, what exactly does director of production mean in general, and then specifically how you embody that role at Fort Worth Opera and for this production of Traviata?
The director of production role is pretty interesting, and it involves getting to work with a lot of fantastic artists, both performance artists who sing and play instruments, and technical artists who do things with lights and paint and costumes and wonderful things like that. There's a pretty big aspect of spreadsheets involved, but overall, my job is working with a lot of really great people to put things like you just saw on stage.
Specifically talking about La Traviata, then, so when you have a production like this, it's just very different. The costumes are different. The whole take on it is different. The set. How involved were you in maybe deciding that, or contracting people who could get that vision on the stage?
My involvement in deciding that was almost none. I think that is one of the most fascinating parts of my job, is that my job is to execute the vision of others without really imposing many of my ideas or thoughts on it at all. So I am helping coordinate the different creative peoples and putting their ideas together and make sure that they end up on stage as they imagine them. But as far as those creative decisions, I make almost none of them myself.
So how do you do that? Do you sit down in a room with the set designer and the director and the costumer and the lighting, and you all talk and hash that out?
In the case of this production, it was a room just like this one with little squares on it. But yes, we all got together and talked about the different ideas. We started with John De Los Santos' concept. We had a couple of criteria to start with that we knew we wanted this to be a shorter Traviata, and that involved cutting some of the music and some of the cast, and that idea of it was already going to be so different than what most of our audiences might remember from other Traviatas. John De Los Santos went ahead and made the leap to go ahead and move the time period to 1989. And so if we were going to be different, let's be all the way different. And that really set us up to have the exciting production that we ended up with.
What were some of the challenges of this kind of updated process with the cuts? And Nathan, you can jump in here too. What were some of the challenges that you encountered?
Well, so that piece, that recitative and aria happens just after Violetta sings her giant aria in the first act, and Alfredo sings a little bit in Violetta's last aria. De Los Santos had me on stage for some of those, kind of acting lovesick and enjoying the moment. But directly after I sang, I'd like sprint off the stage, run all the way backstage across the entire stage, and do an entire costume change. So to see those shorts and that neon yellow shirt and the sunglasses is a fun thing for me. But there was a lot of work that went on to doing that and other changes, because we had no intermission in this show at all. So a lot of things that you'd have the chance to rest or breathe, you just had to kind of do it and make it happen.
I have a question. So the small break when you don't really have time to, rest or breathe or whatnot, there's not an intermission. Is that what led to the similarities in the staging? Because I noticed some of the pieces were the same. Is all of that interrelated?
Yes, it is. One of the advantages of using the scenic style that we did that was very abstract, we didn't have any specificity in the different locations, is that all of the giant golden pieces of scenery that you saw on stage were the same throughout, and they were rearranged into different configurations. And in a show like this where it's quicker, that helps us move from scene to scene much more quickly, so we don't lose the momentum of the story.
I thought maybe that's related. This is kind of a not directly related. What in the world do you do with those pieces whenever the show is over? Like, where do they go?
Right now, those particular pieces are sitting in our warehouse on 4th Street, but sometimes those are rented from other companies and they go back home, or sometimes they're turned into other shows. In this case, we're going to put this show up for rent because the new way that we have done the production might be attractive to other companies who are interested in a shorter Traviata.
Those are really beautiful pieces, and the way they were done in that modular way, they could just be rearranged and look like you're in a different place. So it was very clever and still very beautiful. I'd like to know too, if we can just talk about it, and we can open this up to viewers too. What do you think are the trade-offs between doing a very traditional production that we're all used to, that we can look back and say, this is how I think of opera, and it gives you that feeling of glamour and tradition, and then doing something that's new and maybe more relevant, maybe more interesting and thought-provoking? What are some of the trade-offs? What do you think of that choice?
Oh, this is a big question that people who sell tickets really want the answers to all over. Doing a traditional style of production, there's some comfort in, knowing what it is that you're going to see, especially if it's something that you already like, and going there and getting what you expect and feeling fulfilled, and knowing that some things never change. And on the complete opposite end is being surprised, is seeing a familiar story in a new way, seeing a new way to feel those feelings and to interpret those songs and those characters, to keep it fresh and to make it feel like it applies to our life now, as opposed to the story that is so old at this point. So it really depends on what it is that the audience want, because both of those things could be desirable, or both of those things could be off-putting to audience members.
Yes, that's right. I agree.
So
yes.
if this were the music world, would this be like a classic oldie but goodie that's remixed?
Yes.
Is that what it is?
Like,
Okay.
do we really want someone to remake, the Beatles yesterday, or do we?
It has a whole
the
new
way it
beat.
is, it just depends, right? It
Yeah.
depends on how. Is this a new amazing artist that's going to do something really great with it, or are they just trying to sound like, Paul McCartney?
I could almost envision this the audience being like an intergenerational type of thing, like maybe parents bringing children and everyone enjoys it, I can see it being like kind of casting a wider net, if you will, for your audience.
That's the hope. That's what we want.
Exactly.
Go get them, Tiger.
Exactly.
Sounds like you're on the right track.
Right.
Exactly. So I want to, as we wrap it up, I want to send it around the room. And if you're watching on YouTube right now, in the future, or if you're on this Zoom call with us, you can answer to the people that are with you. You can answer in the chat, but I want to do a round robin and have everybody on the call answer, what was your favorite 1980s wardrobe thing? If you weren't alive then what you've seen on a movie, right? So in the 1980s, for me, it was definitely the windsuit, the jogging suits. Like, they were everything. I owned one in every color, and I thought I was all things hip hop.
Oh, when I was 10 for Christmas, my parents got me, this was probably 83-ish, neon green pants and neon yellow vest and neon pink, and it was all red. It looked amazing.
Yes. All right, jump in.
I think
They
fanny
have.
packs need to come back. They're so handy.
They have.
Kind of. You can
Fanny
find them
packs
in
are back.
Walmart.
Go to Disney World, you'll see them.
Yeah, they're actually back. Yeah.
Justin, I don't advise you to wear them, but they are. You can get one at Walmart if you want to. All right, Nikki.
Leg warmers. I really enjoy leg
Yes.
warmers. Yeah.
Yes, leg
yeah.
warmers. Nathan.
The the hairstyles, honestly, and also the shoulder pads. Just anything. Shoulder pads.
Yes.
When you see
Watch
that
Stranger
jacket that I
Things
had on,
today.
it's just this huge thing. Shoulder pads.
Yes, Jacob. Did we lose Jacob?
Unmute.
I'm gonna have to go
No.
with Nate. Yeah, sorry. I'm gonna have to go with Nathan on this one. It's the hair. I
Yes.
obviously I'm one with long hair, so I've always been a big fan of it.
Yes. Nikki, can you tell us some of the things that we see popping up in the chat?
Neon colored sweatpants. Fanny packs are a fan favorite. Autumn leaves. Do you guys have any fashion favorites from the 80s?
Right, so I would have to say it's a Diana Ross hairstyle. Like her big hairstyle back then. Yes,
Good
Diana
choice.
Ross.
Good choice.
Awesome. Awesome.
That's a new one.
What I hear some other people at Autumn Leaves chiming in. Did we get some different things?
The 80s.
The what?
Your favorite style.
In the 1980s?
Yeah.
1980s. I guess leather jackets.
Leather jacket.
Okay.
That's a good one.
That is the best.
That's awesome.
That is the best. All right. Well, thank you so very much. Thank you to Autumn Leaves for being here live with us today. Thank you to my partner in crime and co-host Meredith Browning. Thank you to my colleagues, Nikki and Jacob. Thank you so much to our special guest, Nathan and Justin. Heather, most of all, thank you to Dementia Friendly for this wonderful partnership. We're greatly enjoying it. We have several weeks left, and we look forward to doing it again and again and again. Last but not least, on our end, thank you to Texas Commission on the Arts. Without your support, we would not be able to do this program. So thank you so much, everybody, for being here today.
Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you.
Absolutely. So if you're joining us tomorrow, just be prepared to wear your neon colored stretchy pants because we'll be doing moving to heal. So a non-impact exercise. And then the following day we'll be working our cognitive exercise together with FitWits. So, and then we will go on a trip on Wednesday, doing a Where in the World is Heather trip, where you get to virtually travel with me to different places. And we talk about different locations and you have to guess where I am, almost like where is Waldo, but I'm not stealing that at all. It's just where's Heather, you know. So I hope you all have a beautiful day. I hope you've enjoyed this time together, and I thank you so much. Looking forward to the next time we get to chat.
Woohoo!
Thank
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Very much.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.